This is a reading of Written in Bone, Buried Lives in Jamestown by Sally Walker, Chapter 7, Part 4. On page 105, there's a map, and under the map is a caption that says, "This map dates from 1671, when Cecil Calvert and his half-brother Philip were still alive and active. It shows the extent of Maryland, Tierra Marie, and includes the Calvert coat of arms or family symbol. The words on the symbol translate to deeds are masculine, words are feminine." Naming the unnamed. The task became a priority for Louis Green Carr, the historian for Project Lead Coffins and St. Mary's City. As she compiled a list of possible names from historic documents, she kept in mind several facts and theories. Archaeological data told her that the three lead coffins were buried between 1667 and 704, the dates when the chapel had been used. Since the burials were inside the chapel, the people must have been wealthy Roman Catholics who had been important community members. From Owsley and Breuilhide's work, Carr knew the sex of each adult and their approximate ages at the time of death. Because the three coffins were buried together, the archaeologists were inclined to believe that the individuals were related. However, the woman's age, at least 60, ruled her out as the baby's mother. A piece of data from the laboratory analysis proved especially useful. The carbon-13 value for the lead coffin man was negative 17.4. The lead coffin ladies was 17.1. These two people had lived in Maryland, eating corn as a part of their diets, long enough for the carbon-13 content of their bones to change accordingly. Carr therefore eliminated from her list of candidates the names of people who had died shortly after their arrival from England. Carr focused her search first on men who fit the criteria. This choice was more likely to produce successful results because English men of the 17th century, far more often than women, were mentioned in legal documents such as land deeds, business transactions, wills, and government papers. Under the law, married women did not have equal status with men, especially in the area of property ownership. Thus, they were seldom mentioned in historical documents, making research about women far more difficult. Carr therefore assembled a list of prominent men of 17th century Maryland, including details such as age, the names of wives, when they had arrived in North America, their occupations and community standing, and where and at what times of the year they had died. The small amounts of pollen found in the man's coffin indicated that he was buried in the winter, a time when little pollen is floating in the air. Carr's final list included 10 men, but only one, Philip Calvert, Philip Calvert perfectly fit all historical evidence as well as scientific evidence collected by Project Lead Coffins scientists. Carr's thorough search of the historical record revealed that Philip Calvert was the younger half-brother of Cecil Calvert, the founder of the Maryland colony. Philip and his wife, Anne Woolsey Calvert, arrived in Maryland City in 1657. Over the years, he served as the governor, the mayor of St. Mary's City, the chief judge, and the chancellor of the colony, all very powerful positions. Philip was a very wealthy man. The historical record indicates that his home, a red brick mansion he named St. Peter's, was the largest colonial mansion in English America. In 1678, that makes it a major building, Henry Miller states. From 1682, inventory of Philip's property, Lois Carr discovered that Philip had a personal library of more than 100 books. one of the largest libraries in colonial Maryland. This wealth alone would have given him a prominent place in St. Mary's City society. But Philip Calvert was clearly respected for his leadership in the community as well. He was therefore a fitting candidate for a lead coffin burial. While the exact date of Philip's death eluded Carr, she did find a document that narrowed the possibility to sometime between December 22nd, 1682, and late January 1683. He was 56 years old at the time of his death. In a will dated 1687, Anne Calvert was left a silver watch. Evidently, Carr concluded Anne must have been alive then, but Philip and his wife Jane, not Anne, signed a deed or ownership paper. In March 1681, it seemed equally evident to Carr that Anne had died sometime before that date and that Philip had then remarried. His second wife, Jane Swell, was much younger than he was, probably between 15 and 17 years old when they were married, the average age of marriage for female colonists born in Maryland. Since Anne would have been too old and too sick to have been the mother of the baby in the smallest lead coffin, Carr and Henry Miller think that Jane was the child's mother. Although no documents have been found to confirm a child from the second marriage, only the child is a very important person. Philip Calvert, for example, would have qualified for a lead burial. The identifications of the remains, as those of Anne and Philip Calvert, present the team with another curious puzzle. Anne Woosley Calvert died 2 years before Philip, yet the grave shaft stratigraphy showed that they were buried at the same time, inside the same grave shaft, presumably after Philip died. Where had Anne's coffin been in the intervening 2 years? One scenario is that the entire grave had been dug when Anne died, wide enough for both husband and wife. In this scenario, Anne would have been placed in one side of the shaft, which was left open so that Philip's coffin could be buried beside her when he died. Miller doesn't think this is likely, though, because pollen would have sifted into the unoccupied side of the crypt. There was no pollen under Philip's coffin. There was also no evidence that Anne's coffin had been dug up and then reburied beside Philip. Miller is sure that if this had occurred, the lead coffin would have been nicked by whatever tools were used to dig it up. The coffin had no such nicks, so Anne's coffin must have been stored somewhere. Was it awaiting shipment to England for burial there, but then given a final resting place in the colony when Philip died? So far, the team hasn't discovered the answer to this riddle. Still, the shared grave of the lead coffin family has revealed a wealth of information about the lives and deaths of St. Mary City's most well-to-do residents. On page 106, there is a picture, and the caption says, Philip Calvert's signature on a court document from 1657.